Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cynthia if you are new here, and I am very excited. I'm very excited for this video. I waited so long for this book to be published, and now that it has finally been published and I devoured it like a crazy person, I'm very happy. So, today we are talking about Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli, and I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of them positive. Like I said, I loved this book, so if you did not like this book, feel free to click off. But I don't really have too much housekeeping. I just kind of want to talk about this book. So, as always, these are just my opinions. Feel free to disagree. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you did read this book or even the first book, and let's just jump right in. So after the events of Heartless Hunter, Rune Winters has left the Republic and finds herself working alongside Cressida Roseblood. The last Roseblood, who's hellbent on caging Rune and capturing not just the Republic for herself, but also Gideon Sharp, the same Gideon who finds himself wrapped up in a deadly scheme with Rune. But as Rune and Gideon work together to defeat Cressida, both of them find that the feelings they thought were once dead and buried starting to resurface. Now Gideon finds himself between sacrificing the girl he loves to stop Cressida from taking power, or choosing the girl he loves and watching the world he has fought so hard for burn. Before I get into my thoughts on Rebel Witch, I do just want to say I saw a comment on Reddit from someone saying that sometimes Barnes & Noble's pretty much just commenting that sometimes Barnes & Noble will put out releases a couple of days early if the contract that they have with the publisher isn't super strict, and thank God, because I went to Barnes & Noble on the Sunday before Rebel Witch was published and they had them all out on a table. They weren't front and center, like I had to go over to the fantasy section and it was just kind of like tucked away in the corner, but it was just a table full of them. And I was just like, yes. Yes, because I love this cover, but can I just show you, okay? Like, how pretty is this? It's like foil. I don't know what it is. It's just beautiful. I love it. I'm so happy that I got an actual copy. I'm so happy that I lifted the ban that I put on myself of buying books. Now I can buy books that I've read. This was an exception. All right, back on track. So in Rebel Witch, we pick up, I want to say a few weeks to maybe about a month after the events of Heartless Hunter. Rune finds herself newly engaged to Prince Soren, who she's really just using to help Cressida get an army so that way when they do sail back to the Republic, Cressida has better odds of taking back her throne. And Prince Soren's army is a very big part of Cressida's plan. But they are essentially in the kingdom of Umbria, which the vibe I got is that Umbria is cool with witches. I'm a little confused. There's not a lot of world building. We kind of flip back and forth between Umbria, where the prince resides, and Caelus, where Cressida resides. They're not far from each other. I'm assuming they're just like two different towns, or Caelus is the town in the kingdom of Umbria. Like I said, there's not a lot of world buildings, so I might have missed something, or I'm just a little confused on that part. But Cressida doesn't have to hide who she is here. She's able to also start building an army of witches. And not long after, Gideon shows up and he is trying to convince himself that this is the final time he's going to come head to head with Rune and he's going to finish her off once and for all and he's going to move on with his life and be done with her. But as per usual, our enemies to lovers just can't stay enemies. They've got to start working on becoming lovers. And so Gideon ends up swept up in Rune's plot to stop Cressida because, to be honest, Cressida is evil. And we don't want Cressida on the throne. I know this is a book, but if I were a character in this book, I would not want Cressida on the throne. And we see this through the way she treats not only Gideon, but also the way she treats Rune, which kind of surprised me because I felt like Cressida really cared for Rune. But then again, you know, it's Cressida. Every character is just a means to an end for her. There is not really any smut in this book. I would say it's more of a closed door fade to black type of romantic scene towards the end of the book. Just gonna throw that in there for anyone curious. But I will say I did like that the stakes were a lot higher in this book. I was kind of surprised with the scene with Cressida and Rune. If you read this book, you know. If you don't, I'm not going to say any more. But I was kind of surprised because like I said, I thought Cressida kind of cared about Rune more than she clearly did, but I also really liked Rune in this book. So kind of switching to the characters, because I honestly like the plot is good, the pacing is good, the twists, while some of them were kind of obvious, I liked how the book ended. The resolution was very satisfying. In terms of like the characters, Rune is definitely one of my newer favorite female main characters. She doesn't have like that chosen one syndrome, and that's what I really like. And she feels real. She's struggling, she's grieving, she's angry, she's going through all these emotions and all of these things. And no, she's not perfect. Some of the decisions she makes, you're just kind of like, ugh. But at the end of the day, she's flawed and she's imperfect. And I really liked that. I also really liked that about Gideon. We kind of get to see another side of Gideon outside of Captain. And it was kind of nice. Like, it was very nice. Gideon has potential to be book boyfriend. I think if this was a trilogy, he probably would be moved up in station to book boyfriend. But I feel like because it's a duology, we don't get too much. But I do love Gideon. Gideon Sharp has a very special place in my heart. I'll say that much. And Cressida makes a very good villain. The side characters were all side charactering well. I don't have any really complaints about them. They were interesting. They brought unique twists and elements to the story. But like I said, the characters just felt far more well-rounded in this book than they kind of did in Heartless Hunter, which I found that I really enjoyed. I will say, if I did have any like complaints or gripes about this book, the epilogue was way too short, and Kristen not including, I don't know how to say this without spoiling it. I just wanted a bit of a longer epilogue. There were certain scenes that I wanted in the epilogue, considering where Rune and Gideon are in the epilogue. You know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Kristen. But all in all, it was a really good book. I don't have too many complaints. I mean, 5 stars out of 5 stars. There's no surprise there. It was just, I'm so happy that this book exists. Overall, I will say I probably would have liked to know more about the politics and the world building, especially with, you know, like, are witches only not welcome in the Republic, but they're welcome everywhere else? Like, what are the politics with like the other neighboring countries and kingdoms? And I don't know, I would have liked a little bit more of that because I was a little bit confused how Umbria operated versus how the Republic operates. But I mean, it ain't that serious. I can live without it. I can make up stuff in my own head. And like I said, the epilogue was a little bit too short. I kind of wished it had been fleshed out a little bit more with a few more pages. Hi. I'm being summoned. So I'm going to wrap this up. 5 stars out of 5 stars. If you have not read Heartless Hunter, I would definitely read it. This series, or well, this duology, is definitely not one where you can skip the first book. A lot of the things that happen in this book are because of the events of Heartless Hunter. So you really have to read Heartless Hunter to get a better understanding of the characters and the situations. And then going into Rebel Witch, yes, there's the interruption that I was talking about. You definitely have to read Heartless Hunter first, but honestly, both books are out now, so you don't have to wait after the cliffhanger that is the end of Heartless Hunter. And so if you haven't read this series, as I like to say, take this as your sign to read this series. I think if you like witches, witch hunter, enemies to lovers, cat and mouse, unique magic systems, there's not too much world building, but the politics are interesting, and I do kind of wish the author had expanded on them, but they don't really take forefront, and you do get a clear picture of the immediate politics, so I think that is fine. But 5 stars out of 5 stars for Rebel Witch, Heartless Hunter, the Crimson Moth duology. If you haven't read it, please read it. If you have read it, or even if you haven't read it and you just kind of want to comment on it, please feel free to leave your opinions in the comments. I love reading your opinions. And other than that, that's kind of all I've got. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Do you have anything you'd like to add?